This is a map of Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, showing the location of the high-speed rail station. Since the high-speed rail connection has been made to the airport, the number of flights between Heathrow in London and Charles de Gaulle has gone from 4.3 million a year to 1.3 million a year. This is a short flight, about an hour if everything works, but the convenience of taking the train to London via the Channel Tunnel, which now takes a little over 2 hours, has clearly made a big difference to travelers. Air France advertises an air ticket that includes the transfer by high-speed rail from Charles de Gaulle to Brussels, with 5 or 6 connections a day. There are also direct train connections to and from Charles de Gaulle from major cities in France, Germany, and the Netherlands. This is a view of the high-speed rail station at the Frankfurt airport, which also offers connections to cities throughout Germany and in the larger European high-speed rail network. 70 trains a day come into the train station at Arlanda Airport in Stockholm, making direct connections all over Sweden and eliminating the need to fly to make connections to many destinations within the country. There's also a short high-speed rail link, 20 minutes, to the Stockholm Central Station, and more rail connections. This map shows the progress towards completing a high-speed rail network in Sweden as of a few years ago, which shows why, in most cases, it makes more sense to change to a train at the Stockholm airport than to take an internal flight within Sweden. Also, from Malmö in the south of Sweden, there's a short train connection to Copenhagen across the water in Denmark. This map of the train network in Europe shows the high-speed rail link progress up to 2015. Many train trips that used to be several hours can now be made in less than an hour, which changes a whole set of economic relationships among cities and countries. This map of high-speed rail in East Asia shows a comparable commitment to this technology as is seen in Europe. Japan was actually the first country to build a high-speed rail network, and there are now comparable trains available in South Korea and in Taiwan. China has made a huge commitment to high-speed rail, and by connecting so many cities has actually made it possible to use high-speed rail for long-distance trains. For trips of about 300 miles, air travel begins to be more effective than high-speed rail, and 500 miles seems to be about the limit before air travel becomes the preferred way of traveling. No one is talking about using high-speed rail to go from New York to Los Angeles or from Toronto to Vancouver, although some opponents of investing in high-speed rail pretend that this is the proposal. Instead, advocates of high-speed rail are talking about trains to link the cities within rapidly developing megaregions within North America, from the Boston-Washington corridor, which is familiar to almost everybody, to the less familiar, like the Texas Triangle, among Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and Austin, San Antonio. Statisticians tell us that most of the population growth in the U.S., Canada, will take place in these megaregions. These regions are still in formation, and they are hard to map. One way is to look at traffic congestion, as shown in this Federal Highway Administration map of the United States. Here's the Northeast Corridor, here's the Piedmont, here's the Texas Triangle, here's the corridor from San Diego to San Francisco. This is an attempt by a research center at Georgia Institute of Technology to map the megaregions using population data. The problem is that the data is available by county, and the boundaries of counties are often much larger than the urban areas within them, particularly in the U.S. Southwest. This map, by the Federal Highway Administration, over a satellite photo of the U.S. and southern Canada at night, probably gives the most accurate impression of these megaregions, as lights at night are a pretty strong indication of the boundaries of urban areas. And this is the map of the proposed U.S. high-speed rail system as presented by President Obama in 2009. As you can see, the lines are essentially concentrated in the megaregions, where important destinations are clustered and are less than 2 or 3 hours apart. This rail construction program was supposed to be part of the recovery from the Great Recession of 2008, just before Obama took office. Surprisingly, Republican governors in several states turned down the federal money. This map from 2011 shows no expenditure in Florida, which was originally fast-tracked for first phase construction because the state actually had a pre-existing plan which made the project what's called shovel-ready. The governor sent the money back, and it has been relocated to California. This map from the Federal Aviation Administration shows airports in the U.S. which will have major capacity needs by 2025. That generally means an additional runway, a huge expense in land acquisition and in construction, and almost certainly a huge political fight with the people in the flight path, who obviously don't want the noise. According to a study by Alain Levy, a quarter of the flights into or out of the LA region airports are 3 hours or less, and this is one of the places needing a major capacity increase by 2025. These are trips that could be more efficiently served by high-speed rail. Taking a quarter of the flights out of air traffic and accommodating them on trains would obviate the need for many airport improvement. Also in other cities, the percentages are lower for destinations within 3 hours, but never lower than 10%, and usually as high as 20%. Taking the money for airport expansion and putting it into high-speed rail would very likely save money and reduce political conflict. No one in North America seems to be making this connection. They are not looking at Europe, where airport high-speed rail connections are the reality, and studying the reductions in air traffic and the economic advantages of closer city connections by rail. High-speed rail is an important part of balancing transportation systems in North America. It is widely accepted in Europe and Asia, and other parts of the world are falling behind on this important economic initiative. Do you live in an area that is part of a megaregion? Does it have access to high-speed rail? Would it make a big difference if high-speed rail were constructed? Before going on to our discussion of livability and making places environmentally compatible, Larry and I are going to review some of the important points we have made about balanced transportation.